This is the regular meeting. Moving on to item number 1, minutes of the regular meeting held May 8th, 2025.
Make a motion that we accept them as written.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second to accept?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Moving on to item number 2, committee reports.
President of your President Wellman, on the 14th, your real estate committee had 2 separate meetings, one regarding customs and another with Forefront Power regarding the solar project. On the 15th, the real estate committee met with representatives from the city regarding business plan, and we discussed the long range infrastructure improvements that are necessary. On the 15th, your executive committee met for agenda setting. The 19th, your real estate committee had 2 more meetings, again with Forefront, we discussed this evening. And there was a meeting with the city manager and fire chief regarding Station 6 and the ARF program. And again, on the 21st, real estate committee met with a third party regarding a potential utility easement on the airport property. So
Thank you. Moving on to item number 3, general manager's report.
be quick, the runway rehab, bid is out, as you know. Last Tuesday, there was a job walk with monthly bidders. And the bids are due on the 5th of June, Thursday the 5th of June. On the 30th, the Director of Airports for Western Pacific Region, Mark McClarty, who you all have heard of or know, is retiring, and your Vice President and I will plan to attend his retirement luncheon down in Los Angeles to represent the district. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions before moving on? Moving on to item number 4, manager of finance and administration report.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've provided the management structure for review and approval.
Make a motion we approve the land register.
Have a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
The other items under my purview are informational only. Answer any questions you may have at this time.
Any questions before moving on? Thank you, Ryan. Moving on to item number 5, public session. Statements from the floor will be heard during public session. Request to speak forms are provided for those wishing to address the board. After completing the form, please give it to the clerk. Requests requiring board action will be referred to staff and brought on the next appropriate agenda. Members of the public are cordially invited to speak on agenda items as they occur. Staff reports covering agenda items are available for review in the office of the general manager on the Tuesday prior to each meeting. The board will establish a time limit for receipt of testimony, in this case 3 minutes. The board reserves the right to establish further time limits for receipt of testimony.
Can we go back to me for 1 second?
Sure.
I just want to let the board know that banquet tenant, the tenant paid the rent.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and I say we skip the items 6 and 7. I did get a message from Michael Foot letting me know that they would be running a little late. They're stuck in traffic right now. Okay, so let's go ahead and go straight to item 3. Resolution 944, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Santa Maria Public Airport District amending rates and charges for 2025-2026 fiscal year.
You skipped them.
Yeah, I skipped 2 because 6 and 7, they're currently not here. They sent me a message.
You skipped them.
So I just.
He's on me.
He's all right. Oh, we're coming back to 6 and 7.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is our annual resolution. The majority of the changes are the 3% CPI that we attach to the month tenants.
Thank you for providing the breakdown of the is and was conditions or the future conditions. I appreciate that.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get a roll call
You know,
to,
let's-
We need a motion first. I'll make a motion, we approve the land chart.
I'll second it, but I got a caveat. I want to let everybody know that we're in the process of looking at rent studies. We're not gonna wait another year to raise them. If it comes back to that point, that we can come back and raise the rents midterm and readjust this. Is there any heartburn with us doing that?
That's your purview.
Right.
President Morgan,
yes?
Director Adam,
Yes.
Director Brown,
Yes.
Director Clayton,
Yes.
Director Guy.
Yes.
Now I see Michael Foot came in, so let's go ahead and go back to item number 6, presentation by Reach Central Code regarding membership opportunities. Round it out. Let's go, Michael.
This is my first time here, sorry. Where do I present? Here? Okay.
We have the presentation up on the screen here, and you can use this keyboard, this is the place, one side. I'll just take a moment for it to. I will be 50 feet there, but you see that? You can do.
We have to eat that.
We all have an electronic copy in front of us too, is the
Oh,
thing.
perfect. These are printouts that, that'll be helpful, but yes, we have that as well. And apologies for being late, and it came from San Luis Obispo. We were a little backed up today. What's up?
Edmund, hold
Hello.
on. So is the.
In fact, it pretty much felt like, if you want to jump in. Thank you, sorry. This is, Rudy Green, one of our board members, also coming in real hot. And, I'll let you take it.
All right,
Thank you.
again, my apologies. But thank you so much for welcoming this evening. My name again is Ermina Herring. I'm the founding board member of REACH. We are a 2-county economic development organization, and who is driving with that?
Error.
Okay, perfect. So today, in the next few minutes, our hope is to share some background about the organization, what the work that we did, what we're focused on work-wise, and really how we see this airport district as an incredible future partner for our work, already engaged, and what the possibilities are. So, oh, there we go. Sorry, thank you. All right. Well, so we are REACH. So REACH's purpose is we exist to ensure that the next generation of Central Coast residents can build a life and future here. We're focused on unlocking the region's full potential through business-led partnerships, results-driven regional solutions. So economic development's kind of an amorphous term often. It's hard to get our minds around it. But what we're hoping to impart upon you is how this work is meant as a movement to really transform our region by aligning on a common vision. So we live in an amazing place. There's no doubt about that. But there are really sobering realities in our region. Nearly half of our families struggle to meet basic needs. 70% of the kids growing up here are in financially struggling households. You know this because you know your community. And it's not a new story. Housing is completely out of reach for our workforce, and businesses can't find entertaining workers. And nearly 9 out of 10 residents fear that our young people won't be able to afford to stay in the region. It's absolutely personal for all of us, but it's also fixable. Because at the same time, we are a region of really incredible assets. So this screen kind of maps out what our 2-county region is and what are the assets within this region of community colleges, public universities, our military installations, the airfields that you represent, and then the thousands of businesses that are here trying to create opportunity for people on the Central Coast. We absolutely have what it takes. We've got unique, globally positioned innovation hubs, advanced industries. We've got an incredible talent pipeline, and we have global infrastructure that other communities would really love to have. We have something very special here. Well, what's been missing, why our region has underperformed the state's economy over the last 20 years, despite great organizations here trying to do this work, is that we have not been aligned. We're a small region in a state of 40 million, and we haven't been aligned in one direction. And so that has been what Reach has been focused on doing. So our model is not new. When we got started 6 years ago, there were a number of organizations that came together to form as businesses, higher ed. I, at the time, was the chamber CEO in San Luis Obispo, and my counterpart, the chamber CEO here in Santa Maria. We were two of the forming bodies to help bring this organization to reality. And that was because, as a Chamber of Commerce person, what we could see is that there's important groundwork being done, but we aren't telling a story to the state and to the federal government, and we were missing out on lots of opportunity for our region. So that's where we shifted. So our focus has been on being private sector led. Our board is made up of business leaders, and more than 70% of our funding is private investment. We are action oriented. We're not just about advocating. We build coalitions. We bring down investment, and we'll talk about today, and our focus is on driving execution for these business strategies. And then we are regional in nature. We work across jurisdictions and sectors and institutions to drive a aligned story, a unified growth front. So it's not a new model. In fact, it's one that we stole from, it's regional economic development is how it works in communities across the country for the last 40 years. It was just new to our region. So it's been working over the last, we launched 6 years ago. We put out a jobs plan 5 years ago. And so we think about it even in just this region, after nearly 40 years of almost very little activity at Vandenberg, it is now the number 2 spaceport in the world. And Diablo Canyon is being reimagined as a clean energy hub. And the major companies are locating in this region, like Honda Research Institute, choosing the land here because of the environment that our communities come together to say they want more business growth in our region and for community health for our people. So this is just a lot of headlines, but essentially it's saying that really from the White House to Sacramento, Reach has made the Central Coast through partnerships, a region that can't be ignored. So what have we done over the last 5 years? So we put out a jobs plan, and we have over 75 parties investing in the work that we do, and over 400 that meet every single month to drive the work forward. Because of the work of the organization and the parties at the table, over close to $350 million in investment that would not have otherwise come to our region without telling a unified story, has come to our region over the last 5 years. And I think I think the data point that excites me most is when we started, we set out a bold goal of 15,000 new high-paying jobs in industries that have promise in our region, but were not being tapped yet. So we set a 10-year goal of 15,000 new jobs, and we are over halfway there in the first 5 years of jobs in the pipeline. These are businesses within our region who have identified the jobs that they are hiring for. So that's where that number comes from. So this region's come together, we've built a foundation, but there's still a lot of work ahead. So this just gives you a picture of what it looks like when the people come together, but we do a lot of convening and alignment work in order to have business people help us and our partners in education, our public sector partners to really drive what we're trying to do. So we just launched an updated 5-year plan, which is what Michael is going to speak to. But really the next 5 years is going to determine whether we capitalize on the momentum that has begun. We've become more focused on how do we ensure that there's pipelines of opportunity for our local our young people, the people who are already working in our communities, so that they have pipelines to these jobs that are coming to our region, and that there are opportunities for them to live in our region as well. And so with that, I'm then,
Much. Appreciate that, Amina, and just wanted to recognize two handouts that I passed around today really are, focus industries for our work. And we probably could spend all day talking about them, but wanted to give you a little bit of a flavor of one, how we promote, and two, kind of the areas that we are focused the most on. So talk a little bit about the work ahead, and then share really what drives some of this work. So looking at expanding good paying jobs on the Central Coast, our core focus, as Amina said, is making sure that we have an economy and a community that is attainable for a lot of the Central Coast residents. So expanding those good paying jobs, supporting entrepreneurship, scaling business expansion, and then going big on space, aerospace, clean tech, and high tech industries. Those are those sectors that you see in front of you there. So second core tenet there is empowering people. We can have those jobs, but getting access and career pathways to those jobs is absolutely vital. So we are making sure that people aren't just getting in, but they're actually getting ahead. So already in our work, we've secured $9 million in investment for regional projects, with $4.4 million of that going to organizations specifically in Santa Barbara County. And, those are kicking off training programs at community colleges, career exposure programs in K through 12 schools, and really investment in critical infrastructure that I think we all know is much needed. Last piece of this, can't go anywhere without talking about housing, really ensuring that our workforce has affordable places to live so that young professionals, growing families, and everyone in between can build a future on the Central Coast. So really, this is the mantra that we are pushing forward and that we really live by: the jobs, people, housing, really making sure that the Central Coast does have a thriving economy, includes all of these pieces. So accelerating job growth, kind of talking through work that we've already done to kind of elevate our region. For me to hit on some of this, that we're being recognized now as a region at a state and national level. A lot of this is things that we're doing to, again, elevate individual communities, but also tie together a thread of what, our region in common has to offer. So looking at Santa Barbara and San Luis Obispo together makes a stronger case for a lot of investment. We've already seen that in much greater ways than we've ever before. Really also, in a lot of ways, this is new for our region. Santa Maria specifically has historically been a leader on the Central Coast in ways that they prioritize economic development and economic strategy, but we haven't seen that cohesiveness and that partnerships across counties, right, or even across individual cities. So that regional coordination is a new muscle that we're strengthening continually. We've also been able to drive action by uniting these public and private leaders around that shared vision, which again is directing state funding for those efforts. And then, strengthening state and federal engagement. That is a key piece that, no individual city, no individual community can do on their own. By pooling together these resources and creating consensus around an aligned vision, we're able to attract state and federal investment in ways that we've never been able to before. And also, again, lay the groundwork for future investment, both matching funds coming from private as well as continued investment from the state and fed. So again, all of these are tied to these key components around focused on wage and growth potential for these target sectors. So looking at space and aerospace, clean tech and energy, high tech, obviously ag tech, healthcare, and building design and construction are all core areas within our region that we have assets around and are likely to lead to high-paying jobs. A cross-cutting sector of all of that, and something that we see specifically at and around the airport, is this precision manufacturing, really a growing industry of high value, high wage potential that crosses into each of these industries that you're seeing. So we see a lot of growth potential already based on, again, some of these assets on the Central Coast, but really, again, looking towards good paying jobs and futures for current residents. So, much of this growth is happening in Santa Maria already. And really, due to its unique positioning in the region and its capacity for growth, we see the Santa Maria Airport and the surrounding business parks regularly showcased to companies looking to expand and locate in our area. Talking to companies that are cutting edge sectors like advanced air mobility, new forms of energy production, guidance systems, remote manufacturing, all recognizing the benefits of locating near our talent and in the proximity of assets like Vandenberg and the 2 universities that we have. So really, again, going through this a little bit fast, but want to make sure that we're leaving some time for questions. And we hope that you'll join us as a strategic partner in this work. This work's only possible with collaborations from businesses, educators, government, and community leaders like yourselves. So we appreciate this opportunity to share with you today, and again, wanted to leave some time for some questions. So,
How much are you asking for?
Ermina?
Yeah, so our ask, and this is the entry point for business in the, in Reach, is a $10,000 a year commitment and we ask for multi-year commitments. And so that's the starting investment. There are businesses that invest at all levels, but that is what our small businesses on the Central Coast invest in.
What happens when we invest $10,000 into Reach?
I love that question. So it brings you into really defining and shaping the strategic priorities of the organization. So you're in the room helping with the businesses and with partners in order to refine strategies and direct the strategic initiatives of the organization, of this job.
To bring businesses in San Luis County and Santa Barbara County more jobs.
Yeah, to grow high wage jobs, to find pathways for our local people to get into those jobs and then hopefully to drive more housing as well. Santa Maria is a great leader in housing on the Central Coast, no doubt. But there are a number of tools that we need to still be exploring to make sure people can get into those houses once they're built.
How would that benefit the airport?
I love that question. You want to take that first?
Yeah, I think a couple ways is, again, mentioning that we're already, very much showcasing the airport, showcasing the properties around the airport. But the strategies and the way that we do this is, we absolutely need to be in partnership, right? We need to have constant conversation. And we see the value both of, having you in that conversation for the airport specifically, but also for the region as a whole. There's ways that the work being done here and the opportunities that will happen here at the airport will also transfer to areas like Paso Robles, will also transfer south. And that regional component, that regional focus of how we do our work is absolutely key to growing everyone, right? So that's how we see both the benefit directly to the airport, but also benefit to the region as a whole.
This airport district is at a pivotal point of growth and opportunity. You've done so much work to get to a place where you can really begin to tap into monetizing and growing the opportunity of this region. You are probably the most important airport district in our footprint. And so that means that we can be bringing companies to you as well and showing off this asset as a place for opportunity on the Central Coast. That's what our hope is.
Are you already working with the San Luis Obispo Airport and the Santa Barbara Airport?
So
So we're the odd man out at the moment?
you want to?
Well, I would
We're
say
just starting. I'll say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Formal partnerships, I would say first ask is to Santa Maria.
Yeah.
We do have continual work with both San Luis, Paso Robles, Santa Barbara, and Oceano Airport.
Okay.
In the sense of a lot of attraction around these target industries, but the opportunity for Santa Maria is different. And maybe one other key piece I skipped over, going a little fast, because coming in quick today, recognizing that there's infrastructure barriers across the board on the Central Coast. Recognizing that the airport specifically has infrastructure barriers. One way to overcome some of those is to recognize that we have to position ourselves better for funding, that we can't only do this on our own from the Central Coast. So part of that is strategies that, again, tie in resources, pulling funds down from state and federal resources. And to do that, we really need to be able to have continual conversation and again, close partnership.
And I'm gonna add to that, to your specific question, the county of San Luis runs the airport. The county is a significant supporter, so the airport's engaged in our work, but it is owned by, it's run by the county, so and then of course it's the city in Santa Barbara. And so the Santa Barbara is newer to the table as we're starting these conversations. This is a unique asset, I think, with the independent district that is really charting its own course for the future.
Okay, do you already see opportunities, of funding from the state or other places that could help us grow and expand at the Santa Maria Airport?
If there was any easy ones, you'd already have, but yeah,
Yeah.
I think just, in general, recognizing that a couple of those muscle pieces I mentioned before
Yeah.
weren't necessarily there. A couple of the strategic plans, like a comprehensive economic development strategy, weren't in place. And what those have done by doing some of those, doing some of that data reporting, we've essentially checked the first box necessary to apply for a lot of grants that didn't exist or weren't even opportunities before. So, looking at ways that we can, again, double down on that is really important. Also recognizing that we're bringing in industry at the same time. They want to see partnerships for a lot of those grants. And so, this is a way that we can ensure that there's, private voices leading that charge and backing it with, again, dollars that we wouldn't be able to access on our own.
Okay, thank you.
So in your presentation, you said you brought in 77, 80 new jobs to the area. Who, what, where?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think across the board, industries like SpaceX are continuing to grow on the Central Coast. So a lot of growth we're seeing around Vandenberg. Industries like, industries like the precision manufacturing crosses over into a lot of different sectors, but that precision manufacturing is growing jobs at Trust Automation in San Luis Obispo. We're seeing jobs growing in ag tech through startup companies. So it's kind of a broad sector, but really looking at, again, these crossover crossover sectors, is where we start to see the majority of that growth. So it's not just maybe the companies that are sending things into space like SpaceX, but the companies around them that support that infrastructure and support their opportunities and their growth on the Central Coast.
that number was tallied specifically with a consultant, somebody at Cal Poly that helped us pull those figures together. And the companies that are within many of these businesses are within, are supporting our organization and engaged in our work. And they have identified through the contracts that they've got and that are coming, that these are the jobs they need to fill. So for example, some of you might have been at our November, we were at the Jet Center here in Santa Maria, and we had a regional collaboration conversation. And Firefly, there's like 4 companies just on our panel that identified how many jobs, 50 to 100, that each one needs to fill in the coming 12 months to 18 months. One of the things that was distinctive about those jobs, and that is now in our work, is that 80% of those jobs don't need 4-year degrees. They can be fast-tracked through training. And so that's where the precision manufacturing piece is so important. So since that conversation in November, using Trust as an example, Trust identified it had secured a several $100 million contract. It needs people to work there. So as a result, they've just done, through a partnership we brokered with the K-12 school system, San Luis Coastal, they are trusted investing so that San Luis Coastal can put high school seniors through a program like technical training, basically. And then when those kids graduate, they can walk into a job. Those jobs start at $80,000. For comparison, 3 out of 5 of our students in both San Luis and Santa Barbara counties qualify for reduced or free lunch. That means a family of 4 makes under $42,000 a year. So one of these jobs can change the trajectory of their lives. And so it's programs like that where you're creatively finding solutions, and that's what's happening, and that's how those jobs are being found. So that, I know that was a long answer.
Maybe one other good example.
We're bringing these kids into jobs, basically they're a trade job.
Yes, exactly. These are great
I
jobs.
mean, the trades are the way to go. Nobody's
Exactly.
going into them anymore.
And so
these
we
kids
just haven't
walk
had
out
that
with a trade
conversation.
And they have a job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and this country has lost track of that conversation largely. It's been defunded over decades. And so that's one of the things that we're trying to really help our, with AI, with retraining of our workforce to really have access to better paying jobs.
Well, Sherman School has a shop class anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't exist.
Yeah, so in this case, it's a private business that's investing, and this is a pilot program that will feed other businesses as well.
That's the only thing I heard you say that's airport related, pilot program. Because I don't think this is airport related, and I'm sorry, but my duty is to protect the airport and its assets.
Yeah.
And I appreciate K through 12 and God bless them all, but that's not our responsibility.
Let me give you another example. So one of the other programs that's been worked out is and is growing. In fact, Reach is giving, I don't know how many, $500,000 towards that you pull down the state funding towards the ACI Jet West College program.
Yes.
And so this is for training airplane mechanics and for helping young people get into those programs. And so it started as a pilot program about a year and a half ago between ACI Jet and Cuesta College. They want to expand that, and they're growing that program. So Reach has pulled down from this $9 million. One of the big grants is going to ACI Jet and to Cuesta College in order to expand training for airplane mechanics, because that's a need in our region. So these are the types of programming that we want to see grow in our region.
So, and also with that same program, so it's currently housed at ACI Jet is near and partnered with San Luis Obispo Airport. They have a training program, that Cuesta students are able to come there. They've been training as well on night classes at Arroyo Grande High School. Arroyo Grande High School has recognized the benefit of that and is starting some of those initial classes that high school students can take at the 12th grade level to essentially give them a leg up in the process. And, by age 19, 20, we'll have certifications to start working on jets. So that's something Lucy Marr is going to be launching this fall, and already talking about expanding that program because those classes are already full. So looking really at those partnerships with Allen Hancock, conversations are already happening. Looking at ways that we can start expanding some of those opportunities at the airport. I know air traffic control has come up as a possibility, and I think a really good opportunity, recognizing that we need air traffic controllers, across the nation, but some really good opportunities at this airport for something like that as well. So again, that those partnerships wouldn't be siloed or in an individual place, but we like to look for things that we can scale up and show proof of concept. So a couple examples.
Can you guys go into a more, I guess, a program that's more in line with like bringing in an industry into the region? I know that's a big aspect of Reach. What's a program that you guys have worked on to bring a specific industry here, and how's it going, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so I think a good example, ES Aero, again in San Luis Obispo, started as a company with 2 college students at Cal Poly. They were doing testing at the small airstrip of Oceano. They had a little hangar that they were able to test drones. Just recently, in the last year, partnered with Honda Research Center to start supplying some of the components towards researching for essentially flying cars. That individual contract has created 100 new jobs just within that one company. And again, case studies to show that by supporting a company like that and their growth from within, we're able to attract companies like Honda that literally have one other similar research center in the United States to the Central Coast. So, that's a way that, it's not just about going out there and trying to shop every potential business and trying to bring them here, but supporting what we have here to attract and to partner. And that's really kind of
For the airport 101.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time.
So much. Thank you. Any more questions before moving on?
No questions.
Would you be any direction to staff on, so you got a budget there?
In terms of, because we're gonna be going into, item number 7, authorization.
regarding the current item. Do you wish to participate in REACH, yes or no?
Yeah, that's the next item. So, moving on to item number
Next item,
That's
yeah,
the next
sorry.
item.
I apologize.
It's because we got it out of Word.
Moving on to item number 7, authorization for the general manager to provide an annual sponsorship and serve as the primary member of the REACH Council. So. Do I hear a motion?
Motion, no.
We have to have a
Motion,
motion.
you have the motion.
I'll make the motion.
A motion for what?
With questions.
It's, just doesn't do anything for the airport. It does a lot for the humanity and everybody outside of the airport. We're just trying to protect the assets of the airport. We don't have that kind of money to throw around. We're going broke. We don't have that money to throw around.
I see, I think it's good, I just think the timing's long time.
Yeah, so if you could just get a second, you can second the motion and then you can decide how you'd like to vote, but it just.
So I made the motion.
So Director Adams will move, and if we can have a second, and then you.
I second the motion.
So Director Gunn will second, and then.
Can we have a motion and a second?
Continue to discuss.
Discuss now?
Okay, you know, and from the presentation, what they're doing, I think it's a good organization. I just think the time is.
I think it's not no, but it's not now.
Yeah, it's not, no, but it's not today.
I don't agree. Like, if you look at the article in the Work at Pioneer, all those items that are happening at the Santa Maria Airport right now, Steve Southwick is going out of his way to report all the great things that are happening here. I think we have momentum at this point in time. And I think we need to push that momentum, and I think REACH can help us, especially with the grants. What we're thinking is it's a $10,000 cost, and that's true. But there's also the capability that they're going to be able to infuse the airport with grant money and with other activities. So, and I've watched REACH over the last 6 years, and I've seen what they've done, and it's rather impressive. So,
I'm not saying about the president, we need to get over other hurdles first.
So I agree with Tony. I think that, you know, I've seen REACH, and I've been a part of different REACH items. When we go to, for example, the Live Summit, REACH is there, and now they're not just there as a member or they're participating, they're actually in the conversations, they're part of the actual panel that are speaking. You know, Michael, you mentioned that you don't think it's aligned. I think it's perfectly aligned. You know, we have a business park that we have hopes of bringing here to Santa Maria, and space, aerospace, ag tech, all that stuff. Those are businesses that I want to see here. High-paying jobs, precision manufacturing. So I think it's perfectly aligned with what we're doing. I think it's more aligned to some other items that we pay yearly. So what I would suggest, or what I would propose, is that we approve this and we look at other items that we're currently paying for and decide on how to make up for that. So.
They're not working for us exclusively, they're working for the county.
Right, and we
The
have-
county of San Luis and
Yeah.
the county of Santa Barbara, so they're not just us. $10,000 a year gains us entry into a room,
And
and we get 1% vote, I guess,
I mean,
because
we
we're
pay-
the low dogs in there.
we pay a lot more for other just being in the room items.
We should get rid of those too.
Exactly, so I think this one is
So
more
this
aligned.
is starting.
This one is the
Domino.
this one is the most aligned that I've seen come across the table that we, it's ag tech, it's aerospace, it's everything that we've been wanting.
It's not gonna bring it to this airport, it's maybe gonna bring it to this region, but it's not gonna bring it to this airport.
If you bring
No guarantee,
it's gonna
no guarantee.
there is no guarantee, but where else would you go?
well, if I may add, I've been to the REACH conferences, and so I've seen the activity that happens at the conference. And I've also seen the breakout sessions that take place with individual business leaders through the sponsoring of REACH at these events. Getting in contact with each other and figuring out ways that we can work together and then go back to REACH and have them help us. So I think I'm at an advantage because I worked for a company before that REACH supported in growth activities. So I've seen what they're able to
If you
do.
see them bring anything to you directly.
Not directly, but this example, like Honda is an example.
Well, Honda, where's the 100 employees gonna be? They're gonna be in Santa Maria, they're gonna be in San Luis? I'm asking a question.
Pardon me, what was the question?
The 100 employees that Honda's gonna have, where are they at?
Yeah, so they're using a private airfield, in Santa Margarita. Now, where are their employees going to be, but what businesses are looking for are the airfields and spaces around the airport, so we have it something of value.
If I might add also, just as a key part of my role, I filter.
Would you come up to that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Basically being the front door of the region connecting in with the state for companies that are looking to locate in California. We respond to what's called, we respond to business requests to say, you know, what sites and what availability do you have on the Central Coast? Again, these target industries that I mentioned earlier, at least a dozen of those responses have included the airport already. That's not to say that we've gotten one yet. Some of these challenges that I'm sure you're very aware of are roadblocks to that, but it is constantly coming up as a very valuable site that we will continue to promote, but want to be able to partner closer with that promotion. So looking again at the availability of land, the availability of manufacturing, the positioning of where this airport is, it's an absolute asset and will again be very likely to see job growth with the right elements in place.
In the next 10 to 20 years.
I mean, I wish I could predict that, but I think it's moving a lot faster than that. I've seen a lot of change within the last 5 years that I wouldn't have predicted. So I'm really looking again at where we see likelihood of growth. It will be in Santa Maria, and I hope that it is at Santa Maria.
I want to add that this also gives us a position in the REACH Council, so we will be in the room helping make those decisions and pitching Santa Maria. That's kind of the big one here. That aspect.
Okay, for the other board members, would you be willing to sponsor for 1 year to see if there's any value that's gained out of 1 year? And then if there is a value gain, then we continue the program? Are you willing to invest $10,000 to see?
On top of that, we'll look
Not
at
at the
other
time,
programs.
Well, I remember we invested, ran into a pipe deal of some sort, and I was kind of figured, what did that have to do with the airport?
Yeah, that was
This was very close, this is much closer. I would not be opposed because of Director Gottman making that, I would not be opposed to trying 1 year, just 1 year, no multi-year contract. And they come back and they explain themselves in 1 year as to how that benefited this airport. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, I think that would be a good option for us.
Yeah, I'm gonna be no on it right now. I just think the timing's wrong right now.
Okay.
We're going right into budget and everything else, and when you get through that, what call before we make this decision.
Let's go ahead and do a resolution. Let's do a vote.
Okay.
But wait a minute, but that's not on the table. The 1 year is not on the table because it's a multi-year contract that we're talking about.
Well, you can,
What?
they can amend
You
it.
know, and it will amend it.
Yeah.
Amend it to a 1 year.
Amend it to amend
I was talking about it. It's already.
I just want to clarify, we would be, a 1 year commitment is absolutely something that would be wonderful. And we would value the opportunity to return to you to share the progress and your input in that.
Awesome, thank you. But do we need to change the
Yeah, let's go.
motion?
Do you guys want to do an authorization or do you guys want to get a vote?
We gotta do a vote.
All right, let's go ahead and do a resolution with the amendment that it's for a 1 year contract.
It's not a resolution, that's,
So-
you can just vote.
Then it's about.
It's just a vote.
Then your
Okay,
motion
that's
is.
again.
So I'll just clarify, if it's acceptable, I think Director Adams, you had made the motion, Director Dyer had seconded. The motion will be to authorize the general manager to provide an annual sponsorship and serve as the primary member for the REACH Council for a term of 1 year. Is that right? So that's the motion.
Yes.
All in favor, there's a second, and then I will call.
Director Brown,
No.
Director Clayton,
Yes.
President Moreno,
Yes.
Director Adams,
Nope.
Director Guy.
Yes.
Be good progress. Report back a year from now.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item number 9, authorization for the general manager to execute the upgrades, scope and or schedule change acknowledgement to between the district and FFP BTM Solar LLC.
President, this was on your agenda last meeting and tabled it till your committee, particularly to meet with Forefront, which has happened. And again, staff is recommending that you approve this amendment. And I'll allow your board members to share their opinion.
Wait, before we go into the opinions, can you tell us what the amendment, or what it is again, because it was the last meeting?
It's in front of you if you want to look directly.
Yeah, what is it? Because they're gonna bump up the cost, and they're gonna bump up the rates.
You know, Thomas Hansen's here from Forefront. Perhaps he could just share that with you.
Just real quickly, because.
Can I just make a comment? Can I- Before you get into the media stuff, we got Forefront here, which one do we talk?
Forefront.
This is Forefront.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Okay, so you just want to know what what changes are covered within the agreement,
I
right?
just want to know that 2.5 years went by, we agreed on a certain price, now there's a new price and the rate change. If you could just,
It'll be 3 years.
just so that I'm, yeah, that's true, it's gonna be 3 years coming up, just so that I'm clear before I vote.
Yeah, that's, I mean, that is correct. We've done a lot of diligence and design work throughout that period, but you do have the timeline correct.
Okay.
And so the change acknowledgement that you guys are reviewing here would be to increase the rate from 0.1620 to 0.1978. And then along with that, anytime we amend that, our early termination value table, that changes. So there's an amendment to that termination value table as well. And then the other item that gets, that we are looking to, or the other 2 items we're looking to amend are the updated estimated annual production of the system. And we provided some clarity to Steve and Chuck here on that. That is related to the palm trees and the trees that are shading the array. Some of the feedback we got from Martin and would be to not remove every single palm tree. And so that production has gone down slightly. So we originally had a system size estimate of 524 kilowatts. Our system size now is 519. Your original offset for the system was 96% and is now 90. And so the reason that percentage went down more compared to that, such a small change is because we were accounting for removing all of the trees that would be shading the system. And so with some of those trees still in place, the production throughout the day would be a little bit lower than what was originally anticipated. And I did just want to also note, I know when we spoke to Martin and Steve and to Chuck, the question came up of what meters benefit from this. You guys are on an aggregate, the agreement that we have with the utility is an aggregate agreement, so there are multiple meters, and I could send you guys a list of the meters that all benefit from this, but it is not just one singular meter at the main terminal building. It is a group of meters, I think, roughly, if I had to guess, about 15 meters, I believe, are benefiting from the solar. So it is not just that one single meter there at the terminal building. And then the last thing would be to just update the guaranteed construction start date and the guaranteed commercial operation date for the system, just based on amending this to allow us to move forward in the construction. That's essentially.
So just so that I'm clear, so then the only financial cost above and beyond is going to be that 25% in the increase in rate. Is that correct? There's no building, there's no extra costs that go into the building of the project, only into the rate. Is that correct?
Yeah, the reason we're proposing the rate increase is because of increased costs that we've seen, increased financing costs, increased, increases from our contractors, things of that nature, increased costs for the, equipment needed to build the site. So it is related to those increases that we've seen over the past couple of years. The increase to the rate is reflective of those. And one of the things we presented to the team, or to your committee is basically, Forefront is eating, some of that cost and what we can, stand to take, I guess. And so, we're not trying to propose this as something that is the airport is taking on all of, this additional cost, that we're trying to share this, with the understanding that, the economic changes between when this agreement happened and now, have been really substantial, and we're not trying to just push this all off onto the airport people. Yeah.
Thank you.
There is no cash outlay.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because there's none in the original contract, I just wanted to make sure, along with the rate increase, that there are no other financial obligations that are gonna hit the board.
Let's do a motion. I'll make a motion so we can talk about it.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second.
Now we're gonna talk about it. Are you done with your presentation?
Yeah, I can stay here for any questions, or I can go.
You're not like what I got to say. Basically, we met with them quite a few times. Because this is a big deal. And the bottom line, in my opinion, is that we're here to this point because they didn't perform. They didn't get the thing done in a reasonable period of time. And everything's gone up sky high. And now we're looking at bearing the brunt. I'm gonna vote no on any changes, and that they need to perform in the contract, and if they don't, then we're gonna turn it over to Dan. That's my vote. So, yeah, Chuck said,
And this is after you've met with them.
we've met multiple times,
Okay.
talked in different ways and stuff like that, and it all comes back to, we're in this position because they didn't perform it in a timely fashion. And I think it was to do with NEMA 1, NEMA 2, NEMA 3, these are different changes on how the buyback is, you understand that?
Yes.
Okay. NEMA 2 was getting ready to change, but they got a ton of people that had signed up all at one point in time, which is a bigger pie than they could eat. And so what's happening is things got pushed back and postponed. I've made bad contracts and choices in my life, I've always lived with them. I suspect that they should live with it too. That's my thing, after meeting multiple times.
Yeah, I look at, understand their position, I understand your position also. Even with their rate increase, our savings is greater than what it was. Because PG&E has gone up, we're still gonna realize a benefit out, a bigger benefit.
Well, not as big as it would be if they.
I agree.
So we're kind of at that point. That,
Who's, you guys have a chance to review who's taking the lion's share of the cost increase?
it's split. I question one thing that you said up here. Before, she said it was only for the terminal, the main terminal. Now you're saying it's from multiple meters?
Yes, and so,
Was that added to it?
yeah, that's correct. So I went back to my interconnection team. They specialize in all of the conversations with PG&E. So I went back to them after we had that last conversation and just followed up with her to verify that I wasn't, in the wrong there. And I was, so that I thought you had 1 meter benefiting from this. And because of the agreement that we had in place with the utility, you guys are on, it's an aggregate meter. So you guys would realize that benefit to multiple meters. And I have that information in my email inbox. I can forward that over to you guys so you guys can see exactly what meters are being, helped by this, but it's a list of about 15 meters.
So basically, you're covering 90% of roughly 15 meters.
Yes, exactly. It's 90% of offset to about 15 or so meters.
Can I ask a question? Was the original sizing of the solar, because I thought it was 1 meter, based on 1 meter, or all about 15 meters? Is it actually 90% of 15 or 90% spread of 1 meter spread over 15?
Oh, yeah, it's weird.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Addressing my work.
It can only be, so it would be for all of those meters, it would be the 90% like, it's shared across those meters of offset. So,
I think what they're asking is, was the system sized for 90% of the entire enchilada, or was it just 90% of the main terminal?
yeah, so it's sized for 90% of that, of the entirety of the aggregate of those meters.
Oh,
We-
okay.
PG&E would not.
That's- That's different than, because last meeting, I think it was just for the main terminal.
Yes,
wasn't it?
PG&E,
Okay,
they would not allow us to make the system, larger than that. They don't want to be buying back any power or anything like that, but it's not built to offset just that at the main terminal. my
okay,
understanding.
just my clarification, PG&E doesn't want us to go greater than 90%?
It's not that they don't want to go greater than 90%. They just, they can't have anything, like they couldn't have you guys generating more. Like they wouldn't allow us to put in a system that was double that size or something like that to then basically be like selling energy back to them. That's just the way the utilities go through these programs. They don't allow a system that is offsetting more than what you're currently using, essentially.
Okay, I'm involved with something similar with another place, and they sized it for 100% with the acknowledgement from PG&E that they're not gonna buy the energy back.
Right, that they aren't going to exceed
Because
that.
this group insisted on not having a smaller size, they wanted to have, because they're gonna grow. And so having 100% of today is going to be 90% of tomorrow, which was their thinking.
Mhm. Yeah, we see that a lot, I would say, across projects, right? Businesses looking to expand their footprint within and things like that, or their energy use is going up, that kind of thing. The unfortunate thing that a lot of times happens is that they're looking for that and the utility has a certain deadline that these applications for systems need to be filed. And so when those applications, the deadlines are approaching, we have to base that system size and prove to the utility it is not going to exceed that. And the only way to do that is by using the historical data. So if there's like an expansion and they think they're gonna use much more energy, things like that, they can't, the utility usually will not allow a system to be built like thinking ahead kind of thing in most cases.
Okay, but did I
that one
understand you correctly when you said it was sized for 96% and it's 90% because of the palm trees?
Yes, so it was
Because
sized,
Michael wants to keep the palm trees.
so it was sized for
I'm not a
96%.
tree hugger, but I just thought when I walked into Santa Maria from the airport for the first time,
Oh,
I'm in
beautiful.
California, you never see those trees in Arkansas.
Yeah, so yeah, that 96% was under the assumption that basically, it wasn't every palm tree that lines that drive there, but it basically, about halfway down, then it was assuming every palm tree from there on. Now I think we are assuming, almost, I think every other palm tree there, or maybe not even that many. And so I think initially we were looking at removing, I want to say roughly 25, 26 trees, and now I think that removal is down to about 16. So I think we've got to good amount, and all of those are,
trees, Michael.
yeah, all of those are directly, the ones that are being removed for sure. The ones that-
Let me make a change to the, let's make it, I'll approve it if they said where they unequivocally cannot change the rate for the duration of the contract. It needs to be in black and white, where they don't approach us to it in one.
Right, to approve, you're saying to
make sure
approach you at a
everything-
later date
Yeah.
and look to increase it, correct? Yeah, and what you guys are agreeing to at this point in time is a rate that would stay steady for 20 years. I understand what you're
It needs to
asking,
say
though,
that
right?
in black and white, real simple.
It's in the contract.
It was in the
The-
contract originally too.
Yeah. But yes, there is a table within that, within the agreement that's got, 20 years, so it's every year, it does not escalate at any point during the 20-year term. But I understand what you're asking for there. I personally can't, like, authorize any ad hoc, but I certainly
We
can
can
go
make
back
sure
to
we
my
can have
team.
Dan take a look and make sure it's all.
Director Brown, this is a contract that is this is a contract amendment that's being proposed. As you all know, a contract is an agreement between two parties and both parties have to agree to that. So
This
That's
sounds like
what's
a counter
for
for
you.
years. It sounds.
Well, and he said it's already in there, you just need to double check.
Right, so-
it's there.
So my understanding is that this rate will be fixed for the duration of that term, and it cannot be changed without both parties coming back
Okay,
and agreeing.
okay.
At this point, the challenge is that the contractor is coming to you before the equipment is installed and saying, we can't install the equipment unless you authorize this contract amendment.
So that's for 20 years.
Once the equipment is installed, you're in a different situation with respect to the contract.
And that's for 20 years.
Yes.
All good one.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 10, authorization for the general manager to execute a change order for the U.S. Customs upgrades, building and site civil between the District of Union Construction and Management Incorporated.
Again, this came to your board last meeting and tabled it so that the board members, the committee, real estate committee could speak to contractor and our engineer.
We'll make a motion to accept the $40,731.
This is all this kind of material. On this one, was change order kind of material.
Is the better than what's on top?
Panel cave, window material, drywall.
Maybe just.
HVAC. Lower hardware, so this is kind of material. Kind of material is 40,731, so the change order is 40,000.
I don't have the right, it's not the right, this was what they had removed. So it does not address that additional issue.
This is not to do with the life.
We approved $20,000 last week.
Yeah, this did not.
We approved the $20,000 at the last meeting.
Yeah, that was a different change, kind of material.
So is this the last we're gonna pay this contract?
No, we still have that issue open. And there also is shared with our real estate committee. We had an issue, for some reason, this not landed inside the board packets, and I apologize for that, but we'll need to come back to this with what would they call it, the delay charges. Plus this is in process. It was discussed when we met with them at the building for a waterproofing change order for the windows.
We get that.
Yeah, the windows are leaking around seals.
It was like $4,400, $4,500.
It's 45, pull the windows out, reseal them.
So that's what item number 10 is for?
Not this.
Well, this is not the process, this is landed on my desk yesterday.
Yeah, this will be a change order, kind of 45 and reseal all of them. There's a lot of water damage.
This is for.
So are we voting on anything?
No,
Okay,
I need to be back to right.
okay, we'll have some questions.
If there's a time issue, we can always do a special.
I asked your real estate committee to allow this work to happen.
Okay.
This one here.
This is the window.
The windows.
So, yeah, the windows.
It's a legit thing, basically.
And that's.
So that's what you're going to do.
When the windows were originally inspected in the middle of all this, that inspector said they were fine. Contractor is now saying, as soon as you get a blowing rain into this, all the work's gonna get destroyed.
Yeah, we're replacing drywall again.
So who installed the windows?
We already are.
Oh, the windows have been in there for forever.
Who knows?
Okay,
But this contractor had nothing to do with the.
Windows
installation.
No.
Okay.
No, this basically what it is, there's a rubber that goes around the windows, they need to take them out, put new rubbers.
So basically, it takes them out, pull the window out, restore.
I don't think they probably would go in.
Okay.
So you're recently.
When it says remove
No.
drywall, is that all the drywall inside the building?
This is a different one. Yeah, this one is, wasn't specific. This is for. Okay. All right, so we're gonna skip that? Skip item 10?
Yeah, I'll come back and I'll have this item included in it.
Okay. Moving on to item number 11, authorization for the president and secretary to execute the revocable permit agreement between the district and Skydive Santa Barbara LLC.
So I don't know how many years, maybe someone here knows.
It's been going on for forever.
Forever. So this is simply a renewal of that agreement. I believe we increased their insurance requirements.
Yeah, so the one change that we recommend is on page 3. The current requirement for commercial general liability insurance is 300,000, which given, my understanding is they don't frequently use the airport, but for an activity like this, 300,000 is a little low. So we'll be asking them to increase that to $1 million. My understanding is that they already have that policy in place, based on their certificate of insurance, so.
We've done this every year, I can't. I think they've ever utilized it.
Our request would be that you approve condition of that $1 million liability.
Okay, but then the question is how often do they have an activity here at the airport?
I could have witnessed one.
So they have, what happens is that if there's a problem in Lompoc where they've shut them down for some
Yes.
reason, they'll ship it.
Then they shift here.
Yeah, they've done it here a few
Okay.
times.
The only time that they've ever used it is like when they have the kind of flying and all those.
Yes.
So it kind of shuts them down and then they'll come over here.
Okay.
It's like 1 week in a year.
Okay, because I've never seen it. It's been here a long time.
That's like 1 week in a year.
Okay.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
Make motions?
Okay, we have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, moving on to item number 12, authorization for the president and secretary to execute the revocable, sorry about that, to execute a revocable license agreement between the district and Valley Art Gallery for the display area in the terminal.
But you know, we are the greatest place to see the view art in
San Diego.
San Maria Valley. And it's because of this longstanding agreement with this group that allows them to display artwork in the terminal. So we ask you to allow that to continue.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, it's going to take a 5-minute break and then go into closed session. We exit closed session with no reportable actions. Moving on to item number 14, director's comments. Let's go ahead and start with Tony Guy.
I do not like the solar company charging us an amount greater than the original contract. I understand the predicament we're in, but I don't like it. And so, I'm leaving here, I'm not good with that, but I understand. And Steve, you made the point that when you were running a business, you honored your contracts, and I really wish that these guys would honor their contract too, because that's an extra cost that's a sizable amount of money. We talked about the $10,000 for reach, that's nothing. That's a drop in the bucket compared to the additional costs we're gonna see, but it stems from the contractor delaying the project. And that's my only comment.
Okay, my comment, I think the solar project, it's gonna make us money for sure, and there's no expense to the district with it. But then as far as Reach, I think Reach is a good organization, I just think the timing is wrong. Just on the current negative cash flow situation. That's where I have the issue with it. I'm not saying it's a bad organization to be involved with, but with this sort of negative cash flow, I mean, like, cut everything to best we can. And I'm gonna rely on Tony and Steve to find those in that finance committee that's coming out for our budget.
Tomorrow, right?
That's all I have.
Like, well, you just tell me when I can pop those 16 trees out and which one they are, and I'll just take them off the property for you and move them on for
You got a place for them?
Sure do. Be careful.
They come up missing, they're gonna look at you.
Yeah, I know. I think we're heading in the right direction. That's my comment.
The solar, yeah, I think the solar thing, I agree with what Tony said, going to, I have all the meters involved, made it a different thing too, and we can actually, there's things that we can do that will actually reduce the power bill that are fairly economical things to do. Probably offset some more of that. The big thing is, I've seen the electric rates, electric rates are sky high, we really want that, that fixed price, so, but I'm not happy, I wasn't happy either with that, so, that's my comment.
Steve? My comment is I agree with Steve and Tony on the forefront. It's just bad business, really, that's all it is. In terms of reach, I mean, I agree with Chuck, it will, in the long run, be good for the airport, but still bad business to do that. Anyway, moving over to reach, yeah, I know that there are items that we can, you know, make it make sense. You know, the finance committee's been looking to. But I think the momentum is here, and we need to keep that momentum going. And I think we just gonna have to develop that. So. And that's my comment.
I think, but wait, sure.
We have a motion to hear second.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.